Recorded live on the turf at Mad Lab Training Studio in Eldersburg, Maryland. This is the Time to Win podcast with Alex and Dan. Now let's get this podcast started.
Hi, Dan.
Hi, Alex.
How are you doing today?
Good. Is this good?
This is good.
Right.
Wait a minute. Is it good? So there's so many ways to start the podcast today. I mean, I don't even know where to start, right? So we might as well just start at the beginning.
Start at the beginning. Creation.
Dan, I want you to know that I feel so alive today, right?
Okay.
I feel so alive. I am filled with sensation, right? And to me, that's generally a sign of life, right? Like,
true.
You know, like I've told you, at my age, I start to worry when something's not hurting, right? And after yesterday's workout, which was a banger, by the way.
It was.
Yeah, I was smoked. And then I went home and I did 2.5 hours of spade and shovel work in the garden, right?
I remember you saying you were going to do that.
I was moving heavy, wet dirt, and like I had to mix the dirt in with the barn waste to get it all nice and homogeneous. And I was back there just working my ass off. And you know, I went to bed probably 9:15. Lights were out. I tossed and turned.
That's when we went to bed, Mike, I think.
PM. PM, yeah.
Duh.
So I lay there in bed, tossing and turning for it must have been 15 seconds before it was lights out, you know, and I was gone.
Nice.
And I woke up this morning and I couldn't move, right? And it took me 15 minutes to get out of bed and get everything moving again and working and warmed up. Wow, that was awesome. So that's how I'm feeling today, Dan. But you know, we were going to talk last week, and you had something on your mind, and I quoted a song by Johnny Lee Hooker, right, called "Boogie Chillin'."
Boogie Chillin'.
And there's that famous line in that song, "It's in him, and it's got to come out." And so, Dan, you had it in you last week. I don't know, did it come out, or is it still there?
I've been ranting all week about all sorts of stuff. You know, I always got a bunch of rants.
So Johnny Lee Hooker was right. It's in him, and it's got to come out. And if it doesn't come out, bad things happen. Dan's head will explode or something like that. So,
good.
So I was just curious. Is there anything you need to get off your chest this morning?
I'm feeling pretty good now, but I'll let you know.
Okay.
You know, I'm kind of curious as to what you've got to say.
Okay. Well, the first thing I'm going to say to you is, did you do your homework?
Oh, son of me. No.
Son of a sea biscuit.
I sort of tried though, Mike. You know, sort of. I brought it up to Mike.
Yeah.
Or Mike brought it up to me, one of the two.
Yeah, but was there, I mean, maybe there's alcohol involved, right? Maybe it wasn't. You guys here's what you need to do. Let me give you guys both a piece of advice. Because I know
Write this down, Mike.
I know you guys go out, and I know that you think great thoughts and you say great words. Right?
Always, of course. Only great thoughts and great words.
You're only missing one thing, Dan, a scribe. You guys need to take a scribe with you, or a secretary, or somebody like Bob Evan Jackson to write this stuff down every time something sage or wise or relevant comes out of your mouth, which is often, right?
Debatable.
Somebody needs to be there to. Somebody needs to capture this stuff. And producer Mike has done a really good job of editing the episodes, right, and taking out the chaff and saving the wheat, right? And you guys can have somebody do that. So even if 90% of what you guys say is trash, that 10% is gold, man.
I would take 10%.
Seriously, right? 10% is an incredible assay. If you're mining for gold and you're coming back like 10%. What is 10%? That's 100,000 parts per million, right? That's really, really pure. Okay, that's easy.
So you're saying I need to start digging for gold?
I'm saying you already have gold. You just need somebody to process it for you. Okay,
all right.
A scribe.
I wouldn't mind a scribe. I'd have to say. It might get me in a lot of trouble, but that's a risk I'm willing to take.
So Dan, we've done some episodes where we talk about one thing for a while, or I launch with a topic, and then it goes in a lot of different directions, right? Like you guys, the listeners will remember episode 1 where I said, Dan, what'd you have for dinner, right? And we went from dinner to world domination. And we taught
And
everyone
everything in between.
And we taught everyone how to win hard.
We did.
What a tagline, by the way. What a tagline.
Oh, the tag. See, I came up with that one.
Yeah, you
know,
I know.
Coming
right?
up with your own's tough.
Yeah, but like if you leave it to somebody else, you're not going to get a tagline. You're just going to get a nickname.
And after hearing your tagline, like that's a hard one to follow.
It shouldn't be for you because you're not that guy. You're someone else, right? But you know who you are. And self-awareness. Okay, now I'm going to weave this in to what I want to talk about.
Right,
Self-awareness is a really important thing, and you are a self-aware dude.
I appreciate that.
Here, I'm going to write that down on here so that I don't forget it. Okay, so we'll come back, Dan. I'll come back to you next episode, and we'll talk about your homework. And the homework, everybody, was what is Dan's tagline, right? And
tell them what yours is.
Okay, so my tagline is the Pharma Pro with a punk rock past. Okay, and that was me, right? I did big pharma for 35 years, but the place I started from was like just a punk, I was just a punk. Okay, so and I'll follow up with what's in you and what's got to come out, right? Because surely there'll be something. Okay, so I don't know where this episode's going to lead, so I'm just going to pitch it out there. I am reading a book right now from Jung. Or it's called Jung versus Borg, like Carl Jung, the psychiatrist or the psychiatrist, whatever he was, right?
Right.
Carl Jung versus the Borg, the man, machine, cyborg, hive mind, evil villain, right? And so this guy Glenn Slater has written this book, Jung versus Borg, okay, and he's talking about like what is it that makes us human, and as we move, he uses the term post-human, as we move from into a post-humanist sort of era, as he's calling it. What is it that still makes us human, right? And Glenn Slater is worried that the things that make us human are being eroded by this hive mind. Kurzweil calls it the singularity, and yeah, so I'm curious. This is the thing that's on my mind a lot. What makes us human, right? And, in the Bible, we read that God made man in his own image. And I'm like, well, I don't think they meant God looks like us. I think there's something more to that. I think maybe God has imbued us with attributes that beyond our looks that make us human, right? And I'm curious what that might be. So I'll go ahead. Are you a Trekkie guy at all?
No, I'm not.
Not at all. Okay.
I love sci-fi and I love fantasy. So I like those two worlds.
Yeah. So
but
maybe
never got into Trek.
Maybe producer Mike is a Trek guy. I don't know. Mike, are you a Trek guy at all? Semi. So there was a movie, right? After the original series back in the 60s, right? Groundbreaking thing. They did a movie franchise, right? And the second movie was called The Wrath of Khan. And
I've heard of it.
And there's a guy named Spock, right? Mm-hmm. And there's a guy named Kirk, right?
Yes.
And they were friends.
He was captain.
He was the captain. And Spock was his best bud and first officer, okay? And Spock dies in the movie. And Kirk delivers a eulogy at the end of the movie. And the Spock was Vulcan, right? He was not even human. Well, he's half human according to the story, but he wasn't fully human, right? Because he was Vulcan. Anyway, I'm going to read you this line out of the movie, and I'm going to try and keep it together. But whenever I see it, whenever I see the movie, I always cry. Okay, so I'm going to try really hard not to cry.
You got it.
Maybe that's what makes us human. I don't know.
Emotions.
So Kirk says at the funeral of Spock, "We come here today." Let me see. What does it say here? There we go. "We are assembled here today to pay our final respects to our honored dead. And yet, it should be noted that in the midst of our sorrow, this death takes place in the shadow of new life, the sunrise of a new world, a world our beloved comrade gave his life to protect and nourish. He did not feel this sacrifice a vain or empty one, and we will not debate his profound wisdom at these proceedings. Of my friend, I can only say this. Of all the souls I have encountered in my travels, his was the most human." And so now, Dan, what makes us human, right? Like here's Kirk saying Spock, an alien, a Vulcan, was the most human person he'd ever met. So what is it? What is it that Slater is so wound up about? What is it that makes us human? I think it's something that's really important to think about, right? Because like banging TikToks all night long or doom scrolling, that's not human, and that's what Slater's worried about. He's worried that we're becoming machines.
I would argue that is human.
Go ahead.
Because I think humans are one of the few organisms that search for entertainment.
Uh-huh.
So then searching for entertainment relentlessly like that is a very human thing to do.
Yeah, okay.
Right?
That's I didn't expect that counterpoint. Go ahead.
I didn't even expect you to bring any of this up, So I would
And that's
say,
our episode for today.
I would say that's one of the big things.
Yeah.
Right? Because if somebody was, like if you were comparing it against a robot, right? A robot has a purpose, and usually maybe it's singular, maybe it's like multifaceted. However, it will consistently drive towards that purpose or those multiple purposes or whatever.
Right.
Porpoises. So I think the human beings don't do that though.
Right.
So they'll do things towards their purpose, but then they'll entertain themselves in a certain way.
Yeah.
And then they'll go back to a purpose. And a lot of times a purpose, whatever they've decided their purpose is, which usually is very much something that they've created based on knowledge that they have. And then it's also usually something that they're passionate about. So in that, sometimes like that's also a partial form of entertainment.
Yeah. I wonder if entertainment, like the need for entertainment, is a symptom of like or an outward like manifestation of
boredom.
I don't know,
because all your needs are met.
I don't know.
Is that what you're saying?
No,
so like,
no. I was thinking, what is it about us? Why would we want to be entertained, right?
That's a good question.
I don't know. I've never thought of it that way before, but you took me there, Dan, so I had to go.
Entertainment, because if you're looking at just studying animals, right?
Yeah.
You watch what like dogs play because they learn things through play, right?
Ah, okay.
So I guess that's what would be argued. I mean, I'm not an expert on dogs. I've had dogs, but where people, while we do learn stuff through play, is that why we search for other entertainment? Because we're trying to learn something, and maybe we don't understand that?
Yeah.
Or is it just a symptom of all my needs are met? In the future, I can see all my needs are being met by doing X, Y, and Z. So now I don't know what to do with this part of my brain, so I'm trying to fill a hole?
I don't know. Maybe so. Maybe it's filling a hole. Yeah, like you were talking about purpose, right?
Yeah.
Like, okay, so here's a pro tip, Dan. Your tagline might have something to do with your purpose. Okay. So I don't know. Like, I don't know my purpose right now. I'm not sure what my purpose is. I think my purpose like we had this discussion.
Well, it's easy for me to say what your purpose is. You're trying to teach the general population how to win and win hard every day.
That's certainly
all hours of the day.
Certainly the purpose of this podcast. Maybe that is. Okay, fair enough. We talked some episodes ago about moving. I talked about moving from hero. Like I felt like for 35 years I was the hero. I was the guy making the diving catch and calling the hard calls, or doing whatever I had to do, right, to move the business and take care of my family. And all that's done now. So now
legend.
I don't know.
Hero to legend.
I called it because okay, so maybe it's the same thing, right? I called it hero to elder. You're calling it legend. Maybe they're the same thing. Maybe those are both purpose-driven roles, right? Like to take everything that you learned and make sure that either people don't repeat your mistakes or make sure that people understand, like, why were you successful or how did you do that? What's the roadmap, right?
So you're going to like this.
Okay.
Because I think that one of the most important things that you can do as a person is figure out your purpose, or continuously strive to figure out your purpose, right?
Uh-huh.
And then maybe you figure out a purpose and you start doing that, and then you realize actually it's more of this, and you're starting to hone in on more of what it is. Like that is very important,
mm-hmm.
which I think kind of is where that tagline comes in.
Okay.
Right? So maybe it is important that everybody have their own tagline.
Yeah.
Because then it helps you
sit
there, think about what is my purpose, what am I to society, which also goes into a lot of podcasts that we've done where we've talked about you should know how your strengths benefit society, what you should be doing, right? It's like know your place in society and like how things need to support you and stuff like that.
That's
so
good,
it goes
Dan.
with that.
So I see the beginnings of a tagline brewing. I see them like scrolling in the ether in front of my eyes here. Dan Gilbert, purpose in the madness. I don't know.
Purpose in the madness.
There might be something there. Maybe that's the
Finding purpose in madness.
Do we have intern Seth here taking notes so we can like follow up actions and stuff like that?
I don't know where intern Seth is. Somewhere. He had a lot of assignments to do, apparently.
Okay, good. So at least he's not wandering around without purpose.
No, I'm sure he's got a purpose.
Okay, so having purpose might be one of those things about being human, right? That's that I don't know. It just kind of resonates with me. It makes sense, right? Having purpose.
Because I guess one of the issues with humans is it's not as direct as like if you're a bee, right, or an ant. You're a soldier ant.
Yeah.
Protect the colony.
Yeah.
Right. You're a worker bee.
Go
Get
out and
honey.
work. Yeah.
Build a nest.
Yeah.
Do this. Here's your 3 tasks. Do them consistently and do them well.
Right.
Right. Don't mess up.
Yeah.
Where being a human is not supposedly not as easy, but maybe it is.
I don't know.
Maybe we overthink a lot, but also that's very human. I think our brains and the way that they work is what makes us human.
Yeah, okay.
Right?
Yeah, sure. Okay, that's pure Carl Jung, right? The way our brains work is what makes us human. I mean, that's foundational, right?
Well, Carl Jung taught me.
Yeah, right. I mean, Jung talked about, the ecology of the mind, and Jung talked about archetypes.
Explain that. Wait. Explain both. Those archetypes is very interesting to me.
Yeah.
But start with ecology of the mind. Like, what do you mean by?
Yeah.
by
Okay.
that?
So in all honesty, Dan, at this point, I'm simply regurgitating something that I read, and I don't claim to understand what the ecology of the mind is.
Well, let's talk about it and then try to understand it.
Yeah. So the way I take this one is, your mind is composed of a lot of different components, right? Like Freud talked about the ego and the id and the superego and things like that. And Jung talked about archetypes and I don't know enough about Jung to really take it any further than that. But
You know what the archetypes are that he talks about?
I don't.
Or we're not that far yet.
I'm not that far yet, but
Now I'm very
but
curious because I love, just like anybody else, I love categorizing stuff
yeah, right.
and like trying to figure out like where do I fall in this?
Yeah.
Like what would be my place? What would I be considered?
Right.
Or like, do I think of these archetypes in my own brain? Like, where am I with those things?
Yeah. So I don't know, and maybe that's intern Seth, write that down. That's homework for us. What are Jung's archetypes, and what does that mean? And how do we integrate that into the podcast? And it's actually like to reel it all back to the tagline.
Are you able to look that up real quick, Mike? Thank you, my friend. I'm Mike, producer Mike.
Producer Mike, aka intern Mike.
I'd like to do a
Stats
shout
Man.
out.
Yeah.
Everybody needs to get themselves a Mike Hamilton. Not our Mike Hamilton, but a Mike Hamilton. You got it. If you're existing without a Mike Hamilton, are you existing at all?
Right.
Are you really living?
So are you, Dan? Are you claiming that to be human, one of the attributes of humanity is to have a Mike Hamilton?
You got to have a Mike Hamilton.
God, I love
do
this.
think so.
This podcast is taking a most unexpected turn.
I'm so surprised. I think that's important, though.
So the ecology of the mind, right?
Well, before we go,
Okay.
the intern, do you want to hear the 12 or the 4 major?
4 major. Let's start
4
with
is
that.
easier for me.
Yeah. 4 I can count to sometimes.
The persona, the shadow,
The shadow.
the animus, and the self.
Okay. And so, great. Hit them. The animus, the self, the shadow, and the persona. Okay. So, a lot of homework.
A lot of homework.
A lot of homework coming our way here. But to me, the ecology of the mind is how do those different archetypes work together to make us human? Okay. Now, I don't know whether that's real or not. Gregory Bateson wrote a great book called The Ecology of the Mind. I don't know if he's the guy that brought about the first term, Bateson was a great like cybernetics guy, systems thinking guy, right? So I don't know if Bateson and Jung ever got together or not, but I don't know. Just shooting from the hip, to me, that would be the ecology of the mind.
Well,
And
if we're thinking about, if it goes back to purpose, because it's funny, they write a book like that because
Right.
they're trying to figure out what makes us human and what is our purpose.
Yeah.
I feel like human beings are consistently trying to figure out what their purpose is. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And most organisms have a purpose of, can you continue being a group of organisms, being a society,
Okay.
and then can you spread that society?
right.
Right? So would that be like us spreading to other places? Is that why, should our main goal right now be space travel and even travel in the rest of our Earth? Like,
Yeah.
what's at the bottom of the ocean? Like, is it stuff like that? Should we live under the sea?
I don't know. I was reading the news a couple months ago. From what I understand, at the bottom of the sea, there's some wreckage.
I'd imagine there
Right?
would be,
Like,
right? It'd
Okay,
be a-
sorry. Those guys went down in the submersible, and then it imploded, and then it sank to the bottom. Remember that
wow.
one? The
I'm
guys
sure.
were in the Marianas Trench, right?
Okay, I know where Marianas Trench.
Yeah. Anyway, it was a bunch of like adventures, and they
Because that's supposed to be
they were trying
the
to
deepest part of the ocean
they
that
were
we
trying
know
to go
of.
down
right?
to the Titanic. That's what it was. I think they were trying to go down to see the Titanic. It was like a tourist venture, right? Anyway,
I did hear about that.
yeah,
and
the
that did
craft-
not go so well.
It did not go
Yeah.
so well. So I was trying to make some dark humor by saying, "What's at the bottom of the ocean? Just a bunch of wreckage." Okay, sorry. That's embarrassing now.
That's tough.
Okay, so part of it would be purpose, right? Part of it would be purpose, but I think there's more to it, right? Because bees have purpose and ants have purpose,
Right.
like you said. Okay, so purpose is part of it, but it's not all of it, right? So now at the risk of coining a phrase I've never read before, the ecology of humanness. Okay, right? Trademark that one real quick. You got a copyright on that, producer Mike?
But actually, so that
The ecology of humanity, right?
When then isn't that why our minds are the way that they are? Because
I think Jung would argue that. Yes.
because we're ambitious. even like in your own jobs, right? People
Yeah.
are trying to figure out a way to move up. People are trying to figure out a way to make more money. People are trying to find a way to have a bigger house, right? How to have a garage, how to like whatever, right? And then is all of that just a small piece because because the way society is built, they're thinking about those things instead of the larger picture, and they get stuck in those loops instead of being like, we should figure out how to push ourselves to other places.
Yeah.
How do we figure out how to put people in a civilization on the bottom of the ocean?
Right.
How do we figure out how to put people living on the moon or living on Mars or whatever, right?
Right,
Or like
right.
actual inhabitable planets. Or how do we find that uninhabitable planets can become habitable? That should be, if what I'm saying would be the truth, then all of our energy should be sent figuring those things out.
Okay. I don't disagree with you.
Okay.
We're still on purpose.
Good.
Okay.
I wouldn't know what to do if you disagreed with me.
I'm gonna.
That's about as much of an argument as I got.
I'm going to add to it.
Okay.
Right? Because as we point out, even ants have purpose, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What about emotion? Okay. Like that feels very human to me.
Very human.
And if you've met people that have no emotion, no affect, right?
Yeah.
They're like robots.
What do you call them? Sociopaths.
Sociopaths, right?
That's no emotion, right? Am I got that right?
Okay,
Look
so
at that.
so I would argue, Dan, that emotion is part of our humanity.
I would
right?
too. That was one of the things I wanted to talk about.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to bring up
Okay,
emotion,
yeah.
but then that also starts to get, because if we're going towards emotion, like why do we have emotions?
I don't know. Like I think in Jung is trying to say this is the way we're built, right? We are built to have emotion. We are built to have purpose. We are built to be humans, right? And we don't create ourselves. We're formed in a certain way.
So then do we have emotion because it will help us take care of each other and push us to passionately drive for more exploration to spread human beings around?
I would think so. That seems to make good sense to me. Yeah, that we would have.
So I shouldn't have a gym. I should have a space shuttle.
Okay, yeah. I mean, if that's your
Or
purpose.
I should be working people out to explore other worlds. Like that should be the goal.
Well, absolutely. I like to think okay. So I was there. I was like at Rehoboth Beach, like one winter morning many years ago, and it's freezing cold. The water is awful. The water's like, I don't know. The water's like 40 degrees.
Oh,
super cold.
that is super cold.
And I'm down there in shorts only, doing surf burpees. Okay. And
Sound like Mike, other than doing burpees, but that's how Mike dresses for the winter.
so I'm basically in the water doing surf burpees. And
Were there other people on the beach? Anybody see you doing that?
oh yeah, and like
Did they think you were
the
a
morning.
nutcase?
Right? Yeah, they did. And some guy walks up to me, and he goes, "What are you training for? The SEALs?" And I didn't even think about it. It just came right out of me, like it's in him and it's got to come out, right? It came right out of me. I'm only training for life, right?
That sounds like a very Alex thing to say.
What an idiot, right?
What'd the guy say?
He just shook his head and walked away.
Makes sense.
Like I stunned the guy. I guess I ruined all of his mental constructs about like what people do. I don't know, but there it was, training for life.
And now he's
maybe
a
that's what
follower
you're
of the
doing.
podcast.
Yeah, I don't know about that. There's still a few people that we haven't reached yet.
Few, couple.
But so when you say, yeah, maybe I should be doing building a spaceship, I don't know, man. I think you are equipping people to survive and thrive in this life so they can go build spaceships too, right? I don't know. I don't think you're, honestly, Dan, I haven't known you that long, but I think I know you well enough to know that your purpose is not to be building spaceships.
I'm not much of an engineer, believe it or not. I'm not much of a creator. I'm more of a destroyer.
No. I have called you many things, Dan, but one of the taglines I like to throw your direction, and I don't know if you agree with me or not, but I think you'll like it anyway. Kinesthetic genius.
Whoa.
Right?
Thank you.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's
Right.
true, but
Purpose in the madness. Kinesthetic genius. Do you see a tagline starting to
I
come
kind of
together?
like that.
Right?
That's pretty good.
Purpose, order in the
I don't know if I
chaos.
deserve all that, but I
Right?
do love that.
Yeah. Signal in the noise. That's you, right?
Signal in the noise.
You're the signal in the noise. You're the ghost in the machine. You're a kinesthetic genius, right? Do you feel a tagline starting to
I
build
do,
here?
actually.
Right. Mike, are you getting all this? All right. So I'll throw some cold water on you here in a minute, all right? Just bring you back to earth.
Fair enough.
Okay, so purpose, emotion. What about feeling? I don't know. Is feeling different from emotion? It could be. Like
What do you mean? Like feeling like
physical sensation, first of all. Like I told you this morning, I woke up and I have never, I felt alive like I rarely feel.
well, because they say that a lot of insects don't have nerve structures to let them feel stuff.
Uh-huh.
Is that correct?
I don't know. I don't know about that.
I've heard that.
I mean, I've
anyway.
heard that about fish too. I don't know.
But, so then you technically could not have feeling, right? And that would have some. It would have some benefits, but it would also, I'd imagine, have some major drawbacks.
Yeah.
Right.
yeah.
But then why would? But why?
Okay, so where I'm going with all this is, like, if you take something and if you take a person and you remove their purpose and their feelings and their emotions, are they still human? I don't know. Like at some point, okay, let me take that to the ultimate extension, right?
They would be less human.
A brain in a vat. Is that still human, right? Devoid of any sensation, any perception, but a mind, an active mind.
Well, why is it wait, what do you mean? Why is it active?
I don't know, like a brain, like if you
Is
could,
it thinking thoughts?
I don't know.
Because then you would think that it would have emotions,
Yeah,
right?
well, yeah, but
Because you don't get emotions from like your arms and your skin. I mean, you have feeling in them,
yeah,
but
I don't know. Like if you were to take away all the feeling, all the emotion, all the purpose, and
I would
take away the drive to live, like, if you're being fed or, you're getting your nutrients or whatever.
yeah, I was
right?
thinking somebody would call that at least much less human,
Yeah.
if not inhuman.
Yeah.
Right. So I would say, I would say that's not human to me.
So to take this back to the podcast, right? About how to win and win hard, right?
Yes.
Winning hard means being more human to me. I think that's part of the equation, Dan.
And understanding why you're human.
Yeah. So when
Mike's just destroying stuff over there.
Yeah. Mike is one of the more human people. Of all the souls I've met in my travels, his was pretty human.
Pretty human. That's your tagline. Mike Hamilton, pretty human.
So I like being the pharma pro with a punk rock past. I remember a song by the Sex Pistols, right? And it had this great lyric in it: "We're so pretty, oh so pretty, we're pretty, vacant."
I remember you talking about that actually.
Yeah.
But actually listen to that.
Yeah, pretty vacant, right?
This would be a pretty good time to do any shout outs too.
Well, I shouted you out. That was very nice of me, Mike. I want you to put that down in your notebook.
Yeah. So
whenever you feel like making fun of poor Dan over here.
So I'll go ahead and shout out our pals over at El Molcajete.
Oh yeah, please.
Yeah. Okay. So right around the corner from the Mad Lab Performance Studio, live from the turf
Here in Eldersburg, Maryland.
Right around the corner is one of the best eating joints in town. It's called El Molcajete, and it's like literally you could be there in 15 seconds if we stood up and walked out of here right now.
Alex, I will tell you right now that I would not use the words good, great, or amazing to describe the quesadilla I eat there.
Yeah.
I would use the phrase life-changing.
Wow.
That's how good it was. I dream of that quesadilla.
Uh-huh.
It's amazing. It's amazing. It's the best quesadilla I've ever had in my life.
So we'll give a shout out to El Molcajete.
Yes.
El Molcajete es muy auténtico.
Yes.
Okay. Anybody else? Do you want our?
Well,
how about Adam?
I got to shout out Adam, who actually might be listening to our podcast as we talk about it right now.
Okay.
Because he's on a road trip. He said he queued it all up. He told me he was ready to start listening. He had like 8 or 9 hours to travel. I don't remember where he was going, but CNA Auto, that's what Adam owns. Amazing place. You have anything going on with your car, truck, van, whatever, whether it's something that needs to be done to the engine or it's like you need some tires or any kind of normal repair or something extreme, go to Adam. He'll set you right. His people are amazing. His prices are super fair, and they're very honest, and they'll take care of you.
Attaboy, Adam. Love it. Okay, so Dan, here we are at the podcast. We're trying to teach you how to win hard. I have just submitted to you that winning hard, one of the elements of winning hard means being more human.
Being more human.
How can we help people? How can we teach people to be more human?
Easy.
Go ahead.
Do your homework. Develop a tagline. Find your purpose.
Come on, Dan.
You don't think I can tell people to do my homework if I haven't done it myself?
So emotion.
Yeah.
We talked about that. Let me ask you this. You have trained hundreds of people.
Maybe thousands.
Maybe thousands. Have you, in your experience, have you ever worked somebody so hard, like they were driving the sled and
worked the human being right out of them?
Yeah, you worked the dog right out of them, right? Have you ever worked somebody so hard that they were on the turf sobbing?
I don't know about sobbing, but pretty close.
Yeah.
Pretty close.
Yeah. I mean, I think, to me, I was fighting back the urge to choke up when I was reading that quote earlier, right? Because it always gets me. It gets me right in the breadbasket.
What part of it gets you?
It's just the whole sum of it, and I'm such I am so soft in this regard, and I love it. Right?
I'm the same way.
I will I'll watch a stupid commercial on TV and I'll get all teary eyed. Right?
Same way.
Yeah. And it makes me feel very human.
Mm-hmm.
I have worked out to the point where I was on the ground sobbing, right? And it makes me feel so good when I'm done, right? It's like there was something in me that had to come out. And I don't know. Like, I'm not saying that we should drive people to the point of tears, but there's something that happens in the gym, for example, that changes us, especially if we're going hard, especially if we're smashing barriers, right?
I think one of the things that makes it, as you're saying, is that it's nice to be able to just pour work into something and get a result. Yeah. And you know that if you're working harder, that result is happening more effectively.
Yeah.
Right? Where you could be doing other stuff in life and you can work hard and then not really have any idea where that's going. Yeah. Right? You have a guess, but it's not as direct as when you're doing some kind of exercise, right?
Right.
You're doing that exercise, you're working your ass off, you got the result. You know what I'm saying? Like it's all right there.
Yeah.
And because you worked hard, you did something good at that time.
Yeah, there's great life lesson in that, isn't there? Yeah. So I was in the garden yesterday after almost being taken to my knees at the turf here at Mad Lab, right? And I was in the garden, and like the dirt was heavy because it was wet, and there was a lot of it, and it was just keep going.
Oh, it was kind of miserable outside too.
Yeah, and so, but I thought to myself, I'm actually doing this, right? Like, I'm getting it done, and why am I getting it done? Well, because I put a lot of work in at the lab to get hard and to get strong and to build like mental toughness to get out there and grind through it, right? So I think that's one of the things, like.
You could have been building a spaceship.
Yeah, I could have. Right. Well, okay, so fair enough. But what I'm doing is I'm trying to feed the world, okay, which is a pretty decent purpose. Till you got that spaceship.
So maybe if I'm a destroyer, my tagline should be Space Warrior.
Okay. So Space Warrior.
Yeah, I'll be blasting down other spaceships.
Purpose in the madness.
That's it.
Right? Dan Gilbert, Space Warrior. I don't know.
There we go.
I mean, it kind of fits, right? I could see it.
Now I'm worried I'm not doing my purpose.
Yeah. Okay. So
shut down the gym. Shut it down. Jessica, you gotta either learn how to build a spaceship or smash through aliens. So one of the two you get to pick.
So
I'm gonna build the ship.
Fair enough. That's awesome. Zeke builds the ship. I'm smashing aliens. We got a good balance.
I for some reason I think Jessica just submitted a resignation letter. I don't know. Anyway, so like I never thought about my purpose, right? I mean, I did.
You had to have. That's very human too, right?
I felt that I had a big obligation to support my family, right? Mm-hmm. And I didn't necessarily choose the pharma business. I was a dumb kid just out of college, and I needed a job, and I landed a job in the pharma business.
But why? Like, did you just like find it and saw that they were hiring?
Yeah.
What was the first job that you got in pharma?
I was washing test tubes by hand for $4.50 an hour.
That was your first job?
Uh-huh.
So you really have come up through the weeds.
Yeah,
from the start.
Dan, my first job in pharma, the official title was Lab Assistant 1, okay? Within the company, that position was more affectionately known as Dish Pig.
Dish Pig. That's what a great phrase.
I went from, it took me 35 years, but I went from Dish Pig to Global Vice President, okay? That was pretty cool. That's really cool. That's a neat story.
That's a tagline itself.
Yeah, it is.
From Dish Pig to Global Vice President.
Yeah, from dinner to world domination, right?
Damn.
So, but I always thought my purpose was to like at least provide a decent enough living that my family was being fed and we had a roof over our heads, right?
Right.
That was strong motivation, right? I had 3 kids.
For sure.
And I had to provide for them. I had to provide for my family. But at the end of my career, I was looking back on it and I thought, in doing that, you touched the lives of millions of people.
Yeah,
right?
I'm sure you did.
So I'm going to use the word I, and I don't like to do that so much. But in that business, we provided a livelihood for the employees of the company, right? Mm-hmm. I took care of my family, first of all.
Right.
We provided a livelihood for the people that worked in the company. We were contract manufacturers, so we provided the means for our clients to also provide for their families. We helped them to be successful.
Sure.
And so, now we're up into the maybe tens of thousands of people at this point.
Easily.
But the purpose of these companies was to create life-saving medications or life-changing medications. And in that sense, yeah, I don't know, like, gosh, the companies I was working at were generally churning out somewhere around 5 to 10 billion unit doses a year, okay? Okay, that's a lot. That's touching a lot of lives right there in the entire range of human need. From we were in the cosmetics business for a while. We were in the over-the-counter consumer goods business for a while. We were in the oncology business for a while, cell and gene therapy. So we were touching a lot of different people with a lot of different problems, and we were changing and in many cases saving their lives. That's incredible. And I never thought about that until I was actually out of the business, right?
Yeah.
But we had a long reach. And Dan, I would say the same thing about you. You have
I don't know if it's that.
You have well, I got 20 years on you, okay? So give it another 20 years, all right? Build that spaceship and see how many lives you touch. But you have touched the people directly that have come through your business. And they have then gone out with their new and enhanced capability, touch the lives of other people, right? They don't just walk out of here and do nothing, right? They go out. I mean, they're here for an
Unless
hour.
we are in a simulation.
I know, right? They're in here for like an hour a day.
NPCs
couple hours
around.
Yeah, couple. They're not NPCs.
They're not
That's
NPCs.
the point. Right?
No,
They're
only
not,
player characters here.
Yeah,
in Mad Lab.
And so these people go out and with the rest of their week, I mean, your busiest customers here maybe 5 hours a week. I don't know, right? There's a lot of time left for those people to go out and do stuff. And you through your purpose have been changing their lives and increasing their capability to go out and do the same to others, right? That's a very human thing, Dan. Good job, human.
Thanks.
Dan Gilbert, human.
Human.
Space genius. I don't know what.
Ooh, I don't know about space genius. Know very little about space. But now I need to start, Mike. So put that down in my notes, Start figuring out space.
Yeah. Right.
And I'll either do alien destruction or alien diplomacy, depending on the alien life forms.
Depending on the situation and the context, right?
I'm just kidding.
That's or teaching others to do it, right?
Or teaching others to do
it. Because just doing it yourself is okay. But if you can be the agent that causes other people to do the same, wow.
So maybe
then
we
you're
should
not
be training spaceship builders,
right,
and space warriors ourselves.
So yeah, absolutely.
We're not shutting down the gym, Mike.
Yeah, there you go. Pivot back to origin.
We almost shut it down. So
I know,
good thing we saved it.
I mean, Jessica, you're hired. Okay.
Yeah, we're actually staying in the gym business, Jessica.
Don't quit your day job.
Don't quit yet.
Anyway, so we used to have this term in the business, and I think it's maybe a military term. Like the biz, like big business. The leaders of big business love to take analogies either from sports or from the military.
Oh, they
right?
really do. Yes, you're not kidding.
I don't know. Maybe that's just like
I've heard a million of them from upper management all over the place.
Force multiplier. You know this one? Right?
I know what a force multiplier is.
Right. So Dan, like you and I get together. I'm doing it. I'm by myself. I'm one. I bring you on board. Now it's two. That's a force additive effect, right? But then we go out and we recruit a whole bunch of other kids to the cause, and we train them up, and they go out and do it again. And
now we're multiplying.
Yeah, now we're multiplying. It sounds a little bit like a Ponzi scheme. It's not.
A little bit.
It's not. I assure you, because the rewards are multiplied. Right? Ponzi scheme just gives the riches to the people at the very top. But if we do our job, our purpose to raise other humans and make them capable. Now we are
talking about a rant. Okay. If I wanted to rant on Ponzi pyramid multi-level, what is it? Multi-level marketing?
Yeah.
Is that what MLM?
Yeah.
Lord, I won't start, but it's trash.
Right. You're right. Okay. So I knew it was in there somewhere, Dan. Okay. I'm going to let you. I got to put a cork in it, right? Because what we're here to talk about is us being. This is part of winning hard, right? Become a force multiplier. Okay? Don't just go out there and be awesome by yourself. That's cool. But but the coolest of all is when you become a force multiplier for awesome.
So do you think, in that vein,
Dan, but before you go on with that, I submit to our listeners and our viewers, you, Dan Gilbert, are a force multiplier for awesome. So, Space Cadet, force multiplier for awesome, kinesthetic genius. Boom, tagline. Okay?
well, I appreciate that.
Okay, I know you do. Okay, and just take off your humble cap for a moment and bask in it, because you are an awesome human. Okay,
thanks,
and
Alex.
a force multiplier, and that's what we want the listeners to be. Also, we want you to go out there and become force multipliers in your area of work and in your purpose. Okay. That's how you win hard. You don't just go out and win for yourself, but you become that catalyst that causes everyone around you to win as well, right? Okay.
I like that.
And maybe that, I don't know if that's what it means to be human or not, but man, today that's good enough for me.
Well, Alex, you're the man, as always.
Dan, I'm nothing. I'm nobody. I'm nobody without the force around me, okay, right? Like, by myself, I'm nobody. I'm just a guy. But, Dan, if we work together and we become force multipliers, wow, then we are the men, okay?
Then we are the men.
All right, Dan. What time is it, Dan?
Oh, it's time to win, baby.
Where are we going, Dan?
Straight to the top.
Straight to the top, baby. Thanks
Thank you,
again
guys.
for another awesome podcast.